Today I am super excited to be showing you something because I think that it's going to be really helpful. It's going to be great to have all of these soups in my freezer, but I'm hoping that it's going to be helpful for you too. So I am making a big batch of 6 different Instant Pot soups. I'm going to freeze them and we're going to be able to have really quick and easy lunches during the week. So I'm not expecting this process to take very long, but I am going to take you through it step by step. Before I get any further, I will let you know that on the blog you can find a printable shopping list and prep list and printable copies of all of the recipes. So I want to make this as easy for you as possible. So I will leave a link for that in the video description. I've made soups for the freezer. I have frozen them all in family-sized portions, but I'm excited this time because I'm going to be freezing them in pint jars instead of larger gallon-sized bags, and that way we can have, not everybody has to have the same kind of soup when it is lunchtime. So the first thing I'll tell you is just what I have here, and this is the ingredients, like I said, for pretty much all of the soups. I have 10.5 cups of chicken stock, and this is chicken stock that I made in my Instant Pot. I've shared videos before on how to make chicken stock in your Instant Pot. If you're not already doing that, then it is a great way to save money because I did not have to buy any of this stock, but it's also really healthy. I do also have beef broth, and this isn't something that I usually make myself. Because I don't use it anywhere nearly as frequently as I use chicken stock, but I do need this for the French onion soup, so I have that as well. As far as produce goes, I have broccoli, of course, for the broccoli cheese soup. I also have a butternut squash, and I'll show you how I'm going to slice that up for the butternut squash and apple soup. So this is just a Gala apple. This is our favorite kind of apple, so it's what I always have on hand. You could use a different type if you wanted. And then onions, lots of onions. Onions are one of my favorite things to cook with. So there's onion in just about every soup. So I have some onions. Carrots are in the spicy sausage and lentil soup. Lots of garlic, and I've already peeled most of this. I have another one just in case. But I use fresh garlic as much as I can. Actually, it's pretty much the only thing. I don't keep jarred garlic on hand. If you have a good mincer, which I will link to mine, this is a garlic press, it really makes easy work of it. And then I have some bell peppers, and these are going to be used in the hearty chili. And butter, lots of butter. Now, like I said, there's only 2 of the soups that are going to be meat soups, so ground beef in the chili, and then I've got some andouille sausage that I'm using in the spicy sausage and lentil soup. If you don't want spicy, you can use a sweet Italian sausage, but I really think it gives it a much better flavor. And as far as my kids are concerned with that soup, we just tell them to not eat the sausage if they don't want it. I also have 6 cans of organic diced tomatoes. This is another purchase that I always have on hand from Costco. I use them in a lot of different things. So I'm going to be using them in the tomato soup and in the chili and maybe one other recipe. I also have some kidney beans. This is just a can of organic kidney beans from Aldi. And then a bag of red lentils. This is organic lentils, Whole Foods 365 brand. And that's for the spicy sausage and lentil soup. Oh, and mushrooms for the spicy sausage and lentil soup as well. So that's pretty much your shopping list. Again, you can find a printable copy of that on the blog, but for now I am going to go ahead, dive in, and start cooking these soups. So the first one that I'm going to start with is the tomato soup, and I'm going to start with that because it's probably the least amount of prep. So I can go ahead and get that soup cooking while I prep for another soup, and that'll be the best use of my time. I do have 2 Instant Pots, and I have an extra insert, so that makes 3 stainless steel inserts, and that's going to come in handy when I'm making these soups. But really, you can do all of this in one Instant Pot. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. So the first step with your tomato soup is just to go ahead and start browning those onions just a little bit. I like to start the onions first and then prep the rest of the ingredients, and that way I'm not waiting around for those onions to brown. I'm just using my time more efficiently that way. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter to the Instant Pot and let that melt, and as soon as my butter is melted, then I will add the onions. So my butter is melted, so I'm going to go ahead and add the onions. And they only need to brown for just a few minutes. Give it a quick stir and coat them in the butter. And I'm going to go ahead and open up 4 cans of tomato soup. Okay, so my onions have been browning for a few minutes. I went ahead and opened the cans of tomatoes, and I'm going to dump those in and the remaining ingredients. Okay, so I took a brief break to get all my kids' lunch. My tomato soup is almost done, so you're going to hear that ding in a minute. And I am going to go ahead and start my Instant Pot sausage and lentil soup. So I'm going to turn on my Duo onto saute and let it heat up. When it is hot, I'm going to add my sausage and brown it just for a couple of minutes. So while my Instant Pot is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and prep my vegetables. I have half of an onion, 3 carrots, and just about 4 or 5 mushrooms, and I've rinsed these and I'm going to chop them up. So how finely you chop your vegetables is really up to you and up to your personal preference. If you want big chunks of vegetables in your soup, then dice them. If you want smaller vegetables, then you can, of course, mince them. But that is largely just personal preference. In this soup, I like to have my vegetables chopped into about 1/2-inch pieces, maybe a little bit smaller. But I do like this soup to be a little bit chunkier. Alright, so I had enough time to go ahead and chop my onion and peel my carrots, and now my Instant Pot reads hot. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil, and I'm going to place my sausages right in that oil. Now I'm not going to chop them or anything like that first. I'm just going to put them in whole and let them brown on both sides. And you can probably hear my pressure is releasing on my tomato soup, so that is almost done. And while my sausage is brown, I'm just going to finish prepping my vegetables. So I need to chop my carrots and chop my mushrooms. brown on both sides. As soon as my onions, carrots, and mushrooms were ready, then I went ahead and added them to the Instant Pot along with the minced garlic. Now I'm just going to add the remaining ingredients. To sealing and set your cook time for 20 minutes on high pressure. So there's a lot of liquid in your Instant Pot, which means it's going to take a little while to come to pressure, but it's going to cook for 20 minutes on high pressure, and then when it's finished you can quick release the pressure, slice up your sausages, and your soup is ready to go. Cooking. I blended it up with my immersion blender. The whole process took about 1 minute, and then I added half a cup of heavy cream to the soup and went ahead and put them in mason jars. So my tomato soup is cooling, it's finished. My spicy sausage and lentil soup is also finished. So the last thing that I need to do for this soup is to slice up this sausage. So I cooked it whole, and that just makes it really, really easy. But now that the sausage is cooked, I'm going to just kind of cube it and then put it back in the pot. Okay, so I'm just going to return all of this sausage back to the pot, and my spicy sausage and lentil soup is now finished. I'm just going to let it cool. I have an extra insert for my 6-quart, so I don't need this insert right away. So I can let it cool a little bit before I transfer it to the jars. Now I'm going to get my hearty chili and my butternut squash soups going. I went ahead and turned on both of my Instant Pots onto saute so that they can start cooking. So many dings. So that they can start heating. Now my butternut squash, the prep for it is really simple. I'm just going to go ahead and saute half of a yellow onion. I have it chopped right here. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil to my Instant Pot and go ahead and put in this onion. My pot isn't hot yet, but I went ahead and added the onion. anyway. Now while that onion is sauteing, I can go ahead and prep the ingredients for the chili. So the first thing that you're going to do for the chili is to saute 1 onion and 2 bell peppers in the Instant Pot. And this soup is not getting pureed, so again, you want to make sure that you cut your vegetables in the size that you want them. So if you maybe don't like really big pieces of onion in your chili, then go ahead and chop up your onion a little bit finer. If your kids are gonna not love big pieces of bell pepper, then maybe cut those up pretty small. I'm gonna cut everything into about 1/2-inch pieces. Tablespoon of oil to my second Instant Pot. You can probably hear the onions in my first Instant Pot going. I'm just going to let those cook for just a minute. So a little bit of oil in my Instant Pot for my chili. Add these onions. And then I am using 2 bell peppers. I like to use different colors. You can use whatever colors you like, but I like having a chili that is a little bit more colorful, so using 2 different colors of bell peppers helps to get that. Give these onions and peppers here a quick stir, and then I'm going to go ahead and get my squash soup going. So I have here 1 whole squash. I've cut it into 1-inch pieces, and then 1 gala apple, and also 1 minced garlic clove. So I'm just Okay, so this is my chili. My onions and peppers are definitely beginning to soften. I'm going to add 4 garlic cloves, 4 minced garlic cloves, and I'm going to let those cook until they're fragrant, just about 30 seconds. Then I'm going to make just a little bit of room for the ground beef and start to brown that. So this is just a little over a pound. The recipe calls for a pound, but I get the organic ground beef from Costco, and it's like a pound and a third. So you can use 1 pound or a little bit more like I do. So you're just going to let that brown for about 5 minutes, and then add the remaining ingredients. Okay, so you can see my meat is pretty well browned. You don't need it to be completely brown because of course you're about to start cooking it under pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my herbs and spices. So 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of dried basil. Now you can add 1 teaspoon of chili powder or cut it down to a half. I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to a half a teaspoon, just for the sake of my kids. 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, and then a half a teaspoon of ground cumin and freshly ground pepper. Now the last couple of things I'm going to add before I start to cook the chili is 1 can of diced tomatoes and 1 can of tomato tomato sauce, which to do that, I always just blend up a can of tomatoes. So I have my Vitamix here, and I just blended 1 can of tomatoes. Okay, and then you just want to give it a quick stir and put the lid on it and cook it for 10 minutes on high pressure. You can let the pressure naturally release, or you can quick release the pressure. Either way, whichever you want to do. Of course, make sure your valve is turned to sealing. And then I'm going to hit cancel, manual, and adjust my time down to 10 minutes. And you can see here, this is my butternut squash soup. My Instant Pot has not quite come to pressure, but it will come to pressure really soon, and that's only going to need to cook for 4 minutes, so I'll be able to finish that one up here while my chili cooks. Let pressure naturally release on my chili simply because I went off to run an errand, so I let everything just sit in the Instant Pots. But it's done now, and I'm going to give you a peek at what it looks like. Now, if you like your chili to be a little bit thicker, then at this point you could turn your Instant Pot on to saute and let some of that liquid kind of simmer out. However, that is totally optional and up to you. So here is the chili. It is done, and you can see the consistency of it. We like it just like this, but we are going to, I'm going to add in a can of chili beans, and like I said, a can of kidney beans. Like I said, I got these from Aldi. Four soups down and 2 to go. So I've got my tomato, my butternut squash and apple, my hearty chili, and my spicy sausage and lentil. All of these are ready to be transferred to the jars, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. We are in the home stretch. Only 2 more soups to do, and they are both really simple and both really easy to make. So the first one that I'm going to get started is French onion soup. The Instant Pot is wonderful for French onion soup because the onions can cook right in the pot. They can saute, caramelize, get nice and sweet and delicious, and then go ahead and cook everything under pressure. The whole process is quick and easy. And the other soup that I'm going to finish up with is Instant Pot broccoli cheese soup. This is one of my kids' favorite soups. It is full of really great, nutritious vegetables, full of vitamins, and like I said, my kids love it. It's another blended soup. So we're going to have 3 blended soups and 3 non-blended soups. So the first thing I'm going to do for my French onion soup is to turn my Instant Pot onto saute, and then it's going to heat up while I slice up my onion. So I am going to take 1 yellow onion and just cut it into nice thin strips. Is nice and thinly sliced, I'm going to go ahead and add about 4 tablespoons of butter to the Instant Pot. And you don't want to skip this step, and you really want to use good butter, the best butter you can, because it's going to help to caramelize those onions and give your French onion soup the right kind of rich flavor. So I'm just going to melt that butter and then add my onions to the pot, and I'm going to stir them really quickly because I want to coat them in the butter. But then I'm going to let them just sit and saute without any stirring for 6 minutes. Okay, so the onions are coated with all of that butter, and I'm going to leave them alone and set a timer for 6 minutes. So while my onions are beginning to caramelize, I'm going to go ahead and prep for my broccoli cheese soup. Again, it's the same first step. I'm going to turn my Instant Pot onto saute, and I'm going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter because the first step is going to be to saute some onions and spices together. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop up 1 yellow onion, and this is another blended soup. So again, same thing, you don't have to chop it up very finely. The onions are going to get blended when you blend the rest of the soup. So I'm going to add this to the butter. Jojo, shh. I'm going to add this to the butter that's already in my pot. So again, if you don't have 2 Instant Pots, then you can kind of make these soups back to back. The great thing about them is, with the exception of the spicy sausage and lentil, all of them are 10 minutes or less to cook. Of course, with soups, you do have a little bit longer time to come to pressure, but for the most part, all of that is hands-off time that you can be using to prep your next soup. My onions are done sauteing, so I'm going to go ahead and add the remaining ingredients and turn my broccoli soup on to cook. So I'm adding about 4 cups of broccoli florets, and as I mentioned, these were just frozen broccoli florets that I bought at Costco, and then 4 cups of chicken broth or chicken stock, this homemade stock that I made in my Instant Pot. Okay, and now I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Make sure nothing is stuck to the bottom of your pot. Deglazing your pot before you start cooking is really important anytime you use the saute feature. And then I'm going to put the lid on, hit cancel, and turn it to 4 minutes on high pressure. And that is ready to go. So my onions have cooked for about 6 minutes or so. And all of that darkness is good flavor. So I'm just going to stir them and let them cook for about 5 or 6 more minutes. It's been another few minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. And I'm going to push the onions just kind of off to the side so that I can add my garlic right in the middle. I can do this with one hand. There we go. So you just want to let your garlic saute for about 30 seconds, just until it's fragrant. And then you're going to add the salt, the pepper, chicken broth, beef broth, and Worcestershire sauce.
Velociraptors are in trucks. See, look, they've even got sunglasses on.
Velociraptors have sunglasses on?
And look, and they're steering me. Let me finish their hand.
That's really funny.
And look, they're chasing Jet in a jet car. See how much it resembles a jet? You would think you'd think it should be able to shoot wings out of it, because it's even.
Okay, everything is done. I'm so excited. So my last 2 soups just finished cooking. There's a couple little things that I need to do to finish my broccoli cheese soup, but for the most part, it is done. And this broth this French onion soup is perfect. So this is ready to go into jars, but my broccoli cheese soup just needs to be blended. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. All right, so the last step with the broccoli cheese is, of course, to blend it. But before I do that, I'm gonna add about 2 cups. I'm just kind of doing 2 cups of spinach, and you're just gonna stir that in. And you'll notice, because the soup is so hot, that it wilts immediately, and that's what you're looking for. Okay, so now that my spinach is wilted, I'm gonna go ahead and that only took like 5 seconds, so really quick. I'm gonna go ahead and blend up this soup. So my soup is smooth now, and I'm just going to add, I've got a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese and about 1 cup of cheddar cheese. And I'm just gonna stir that in and let the cheese melt. It's gonna thicken the soup just a little bit. And my broccoli cheese soup is done, which means I am now done cooking. Alright, I'm done cooking. The last little thing that I need to do is just transfer the French onion soup and broccoli cheese soup to the jars. My kids, everyone's going to have whatever soup they want for dinner tonight, of course, because I have all of this done. Okay, so a couple important things to note about freezing in jars. This goes for soups or freezing broth or applesauce or anything like that. You want to make sure that you leave room for expansion. So I like to stop right below the where the lines start for the rings. So right below that is a good place to stop. Make sure you leave plenty of room. That's what happens, or when you don't do that, that's when your jars end up breaking. Another important thing to note is that all of my jars have straight sides. I'm not using any jars with a curved neck because those are not recommended for freezing. Ball says on their website only to use the straight jars like this. So you can use straight 1/2 pint jars or pint jars, or these are like asparagus jars. They're about 2.5 cups. So I use these sometime, and you see it says for freezing, fill here. So just below this line right here. So that's it. Freezer soups. Look at all those colorful soups. I am really excited. I know I've said that like a gazillion times before, but I'm really excited to have all of these soups. Hopefully now, if the weather will just cooperate, we will get some days that aren't 80 and 90 degrees. Jedediah, what's your favorite? The broccoli cheese?
French onion.
And Jack likes the French onion the best?
And tomato and broccoli cheese.
And tomato. Really, we just love all of these soups, so really great. If you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like this, then click subscribe. Jed says no chili. All right, scoot over, sweetie. Click subscribe and you'll find more content like this. If you like freezer meals, I have 2 more complete freezer meal plans, not soups, but whole meals on my blog. So about 12 or 13 different freezer meals for the Instant Pot. So really great things to have on hand to make life a lot easier. So you can find shopping lists and prep lists and recipes and everything at thispilgrimlife.com. I will link them down in the video description. If you found this video helpful, I would love it if you would share it. And that's it. I will see you guys again later.